Hey everybody and welcome back. In today's video, I'm going to be walking you through the basics of creating not only a simple HTML form, but also a responsive navigation bar in HTML and CSS. Now, we are going to be cheating a bit by using AI to help to build this. However, we are going to be walking through what we're actually building with AI to get the best of both worlds with regards to making this simple and easy, but also trying to understand what we're doing. So we're going to start off with ChatGPT. Now, the simple part about the form, and this is probably the easiest thing to understand, is basically just saying, hey, write me code for a simple but appealing HTML form. Now, I haven't assigned a role to ChatGPT or anything like that because we're using a relatively simple prompt, but then we're going to build on it. So the easiest way for you to get started with this is you can do something like I have here, where I have my index.html file, and this is actually hosted online. Now, I just deleted all this text, but this is actually this page here, which we'll see update as I make changes. So what we'll do is we're going to copy this code and then just walk through the basics really quickly. Now, you'll see we've declared the doc type as HTML. We have the language, and then we have the header, and then basically just specifying UTF-8 as the character set. And then we have this meta name option here. Now, you'll see it says contact form. However, this isn't actually a form. What ChatGPT gave us was basically just a page that says, hey, this is a form. So we're going to refresh the page and see what it ends up coming up with. So you'll see it says right here, contact form. So it has updated, but there's no contact and there's no form here. So we didn't specify what the form needs to do. So what I then asked was, let's build a responsive navigation bar and then go from there. Now you'll see we have this HTML section here, and if you wanted to be more advanced, you could specify using CSS as well, because that custom styling can make it much more appealing. But we're going to paste everything. We're going to just paste over top. And then you'll see it gave us a couple of generic options. So let's go ahead and click Save, because now it looks like we have a legitimate form. Now, obviously, this is not the most appealing web page, but we do actually have some content here that we could use. And you'll see when we hover over, we get different options. In the bottom left corner, it tells you where the different pages are going to be redirecting to. We get this kind of nice piece hovering over. And if we right click and click inspect and try to view from different device types, we can get a general idea if we were to choose different devices, basically what this would end up looking like. So it's working right now, but we need to figure out what does this content actually mean. Now, not much has changed with this portion of the code. But what has changed is some things related to the body and the actual content. Now, if you want to learn the basics, you'll see here that we have the font family, and you'll see the Arial and sans serif. So basically, you could set this up to be whatever the font is that you need, and you can adjust margins and padding. So what I like to do to kind of understand things is I'll just add in some random values, save it, and then go to the page, and you'll see what those changes look like. Now, obviously, I'm not going to be much of a UX expert here, so I will delete that change. But you can do the same thing here. So when you have the background color of this 333, we can actually copy this, go into a new page, and you'll see we can find the hex code for that specific color. Now, if you want, you could try to change this up. So there are plenty of websites where you could get different colors or different hex codes. So we could change this to be really whatever we want it to be. You can kind of just figure out based on different forms or different values. But for example, if we changed it to 223, you can click Save, refresh the page, and you'll see what those changes look like. So for example, if we were to choose 789, when we click Save, we can refresh the page, and now we'll see that color change. So it's easier if you use one of those calculators online or the color wheels so that you can figure out what you need that code to be. Now, as we're going through, you'll see that we have the navigation section here. Again, we're not going to mess with margins or padding because I think that this is centered and set up correctly. And then we have a couple of different options. So you'll see that we have this section here. And typically, if you don't quite understand what it is, you can actually go over to that page. So here, if we right click and click inspect, and then you can go over to the elements page. Now here, when you select an element, typically you'll see over here, for example, if we're in our console or network tabs, you'll see any errors that may appear when you do something, but you'll also see the ability to select the element in a page, and now we'll see what all of these elements are. So when we're scrolling through, if we have some confusion around what's the color code, you'll see it right there. You'll see the different sizing and various options. And you can essentially just scroll through the page to figure out what elements are where, what they are, but you'll see the background, the padding in this little white box that's appearing above everything I hover over. You're basically seeing the details on all of these elements. So you can go here and figure out, okay, I don't know what this is. Well, you can scroll through here and then try to figure out, based on the blocks that you have, where is that, for example, if we wanted to find that specific color code. So we can basically just continue to scroll through. This one's pretty straightforward. We have our navigation menu, and you'll see the Ahref, which is really common, just setting up a note of, hey, this is where we need to send someone. So this would typically be where you would be putting in some kind of a note or a URL. So you'll see it more commonly for home, for example, if we put google.com. And the idea here would be when you refresh the page, if you were to click home, it would potentially take you to google.com. Now you need to bear in mind that you're going to need to update everything so it doesn't take you to your current page / google.com. So you would need to make sure that you're managing those really just managing that in the actual form itself. But all things considered, that's typically how you're going to see most of these actually. So as a quick example here, I wanted to show you this window. This is a great resource. It's w3schools.com. You can learn more about setting up links and tons of different things. But the idea here is if we wanted this to be set up, typically the format would look something like putting it in double quotes. And then we would specify the full and entire URL. So you'll see here we now have in double quotes the actual URL for Google. So we'll go ahead and save this, refresh our page, and then we'll close this. And now we're just going to click home. Now it's redirecting us to Google. So that's the basics for setting up those different menus up here, and you could just create different pages. And then as we scroll down, you'll see that we have some additional notes like the H2 is the heading for contact form. So when we right click and click inspect, you'll see that it says H2 when we hover over that text. And then you could also set up the different attributes and actions for the form itself. So if you'll see here, it says name, and the text type is name. And we have that right here. If we wanted to put name and then type in a bunch of letters, and we go here and click refresh, you'll see those letters now appear. So the idea is if you don't really know HTML, that's not really a problem. You can typically use a variety of different sources to create that content for you, and then you can just kind of modify it from there. So I hope this video was helpful. If you have any questions, drop them in the comment box below, and I'll see you all in the next video.